Now, I'm really excited to introduce you to our next speaker. Adunola Adeshola is a career strategist and the founder of EmployeeRedefined.com. Now, Adunola helps high-achieving corporate professionals secure new jobs at companies that they love. She's also a Forbes contributor, where her career column on how to land a new job has been read more than 2 million times. And her expertise has been featured in the New York Times, Fast Company, Bloomberg, and many other publications. Now, through her signature coaching program, Adunola has been on a mission to help high achievers recognize, own, and show their value so that they can stop playing small, boost their confidence, and land amazing jobs that they love. Her clients in dozens of industries have landed job offers at top companies such as Google, Viacom CBS, Vogue, Tiffany Company, Sephora, and many others. She also uses her insight from coaching hundreds of top performing employees to consult companies on how to empower top talent to thrive at work. Adunola, I'm really, really excited to jump off with this conversation. Before we start, though, is there anything else that you would like to add to that intro? Anything else that our audience should know about you today?
I mean, you said it amazingly. I'm just like, oh, that's me. So I'm excited to be here.
Excellent.
And
Great.
looking forward to the conversation.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm really excited to dig in on this. All right. So we know that we're going to talk to you about that strategic career development, right? But to start us off, what would you say are the top roadblocks that many high achieving professionals tend to impose on themselves when it comes to that career advancement?
Yeah. So I often say that, like, and I wouldn't say that it's what we do to ourselves. I think it's what we've been taught, right? Because we all can probably relate to starting our careers or being in the thick of our careers and following the advice of, like, keep your head down and do the work. And, for me personally, I was taught that. And when I thought about that, I was okay, I'm just going to keep my head down, do the work, be the reliable person, show up, deliver, and everything would fall in place. Promotions would come, opportunities would come, people will love me, people will know me. And I quickly realized, like, that just does not happen. Like, that's just not the case. I actually believe that being the person who keeps your head down and does the work is quite a recipe to becoming overworked and unhappy in your career. And so while it isn't something that I feel like we put on ourselves, I think it's just the bad advice that we've learned over time about what it takes to grow in our careers. And the reality is, keeping your head down and doing the work does not work. And what you really need is to understand how to talk about your skills, how to recognize the things that you bring to the table, how to speak up and, build the relationships that are important for your career. There's so many other things that we don't talk about. And so often one of the reasons why people stay stuck or feel like they're not advancing is because they only focus on the work and they forget about the other components that are essential to being able to scale your career or take it to the next level.
I think that's such a powerful sentence when you talk about that being heads down and doing the work isn't enough. And I feel like, granted, I'm coming from a lens of my lived experience, but I feel like this is a subject that we've been talking about, at least in women-centric circles, for a while, right? Because we're socially conditioned not to brag, not to draw attention, to compliment ourselves, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it's not just a women-centric issue. This affects all workers, right?
Yep, it does.
Absolutely.
It really does. And I think that it really is because we just, the way we ascend into our adult lives, it's like we go to school and we do the work and we get the grades, and it's like all I have to do is study and put all the effort in, and I got the grades. And so I think as we get into our careers, even years down the line, we still can apply that same knowledge of, if I just keep showing up, then I will get where I want to be. And I think for a lot of, especially high achievers, both men and women, who in the office, your work tends to speak for itself, or people kind of know you for the things that you're able to do, you lose the skills of, or you maybe never even develop the skills of understanding how to share your story or how to talk about what you bring to the table. And so it's the idea of, like, I shouldn't brag, but then also when you kind of tell people that you should talk about yourself, a lot of times people don't even know what to say. Okay, so then how do I talk about myself? Which is a really big issue that holds people back because they have the experience, they put in the work, but nobody knows, and they don't know like how to share that same message so that people trust them to be able to take it to the next level.
Yes, you're hitting the nail right on the head there with the fact that you're right. Like showing up is a huge part of it. Like we're not saying you shouldn't do the work,
Right.
but yeah, like that idea of thinking in two parts of like, yes, you show up and do the work, but then also how are you talking about this? That's huge. All right, so if we're talking about this in terms of people who work remotely or maybe on a hybrid model,
Right.
what this we know that working remotely especially can lead to kind of downplaying your skills, right?
Yes.
What should people really think about and be mindful of when it comes to, like you said, sharing your wins and showing people what you know and like where you should be at the company?
Right. Yeah. So with working remotely, it's even more tempting to like open up the laptop, get the work done, give it a hard push, and then close up your laptop and feel like, okay, the day is done. And you kind of repeat that over and over in your pajamas. And so it's so important to not get into that spill of like, I just show up on my laptop. I, don't really have anything to add in the meetings. I don't really have anything to say. I just get it done and people just know it's coming into their emails and that's it. And so I think that when it comes to being able to really show your value through the screen, one of the things that you can do is to be a part of what is happening, right? So we've been taught a lot of times that the key to success is like to be the yes man. It's just to be the person who's reliable. But rather than just being the person who's reliable, it's important to think about how are you communicating the process, right? Like if you are even given a task or a project, how are you communicating the results that you've been able to achieve? Or how are you talking about the actual success of the results that you've been able to achieve, right? And so really painting the picture for people is so important when you're working with a team, even when you're going into interviews. Like it's so important to paint the picture and not assume that because you show up or because you get it done that people automatically know the process that it took or the excellence that you put into it to get it done. And so being able to communicate and again really just allowing you to speak for your work instead of allowing your work to speak for itself is one of the best things that you can do while working remotely, so that people know not only are you the person who gets it done, but this is how, Megan gets this thing done because she's really good at doing this because she told us that she's really good at doing XYZ that gets it done. And so again, just really connecting the dots for other people.
Yes, absolutely. That idea of connecting those dots, that was not something that I was taught in school when we were talking about things like your resume or like cover letters and all that kind of thing. In no way was I ever told like, hey, you need to make this easy to read and you need somebody to be able to see you right away in this role. And it's, especially important for career transitioners, all kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's being able to draw those connections for people and not rely on them saying, oh, Adunola really gets all of her stuff done and she is constantly early and really on the ball. And you just can't depend on people having those conversations about you. Right. I think that's such a good point you make. Excellent. All right, so let's talk about ways that we can kind of help boost that performance and career growth and that visibility. What kind of relationships do you think are really key to establish and foster? And how should you be doing that if you are in a remote or hybrid working environment?
Yes. First of all, can we talk about how I at least got into my career and spent a little bit too long in my career thinking I didn't need any friends. Like I was like, I'm just gonna do the thing. I'm just going to do my work. I'm gonna, again, all the things we've been talking about. And I didn't really think that I needed other people because maybe because I'm an introvert, maybe because I like autonomy. I was like, I got this. I don't need anyone. No new friends. But that was a huge mistake. And so if anyone else kind of feels like that in their work environments, I want you to know that you have to understand the power of relationships. And I know that relationships and networking has kind of got a bad rap. As far as like the transactional, you scratch your back, I scratch your back, you scratch my back, that whole thing, which is so distasteful to say the least, right? And a lot of people probably feel that way, which is why networking and building relationships is something that people don't really think about doing. But it is so important, especially even in your work environment. So we always think about networking as far as like networking when you're looking for a new job, which is important. But doing it as part of your entire career growth and experience is so important, because those relationships, studies show like relationships boost work performance, relationships give you new opportunities, relationships actually help you enjoy your work more on a day-to-day. And so when you think about working remotely and even going after the next opportunity, I would say that you have to really understand that there is power in the right relationships. So when you're working remotely in the office, or when you're working remotely at work, one of there are three constellations that I recommend. So you want to have that same level work friend, which is pretty much the easiest kind of relationship to build. We all kind of go into that new office or start that new job and kind of quickly connect with someone who's maybe on our team, or who maybe started around the same time as us, or who maybe looks like us or relates to us. And so that's pretty much the easiest type of relationships that we all generally tend to have. But that person is essential because they can be that support system for you. They understand probably the workload and the things that you're working on. They're probably dealing with the same maybe challenges that they can help talk you through and kind of just root for you and encourage you on. So that's number one, the same level work friend. And that is somebody that you can, even on Slack or whatever your teams, whatever you guys use for communicating, that's something that you can literally just say, hey, I saw that you were assigned to this project, or I saw that you're working with this new client. I'm working with this new client. Let me know if, I could be of any help to you, or if you need any a brainstorm session. Like, just literally being a hand for that person is a great way to start building that relationship. And then the second relationship that you want to have is that next level mentor. And so the next level mentor doesn't necessarily have to be your boss. In fact, I actually recommend that it isn't your boss. It could be someone who's on your team, who's a level above you, who maybe like you're at that manager level, or maybe you're the associate manager and you have that director that you report to, but there's a manager in between you. Like, maybe you can think about that person and really start to build a relationship with them, because the benefit of this relationship is that they can offer you constructive feedback that isn't biased, right? Where you can take it because they're not really, looking at your work from the lens of you're reporting to me, and they can give it because they don't really have any stake in a sense of what you are actually contributing. So the relationship can really just be objective, and it can help you grow because they have already elevated from that level of where you're at. And they can help you be able to see maybe what the blind spots are, the gaps, or the skills that you maybe want to just fine tune a little bit so that you can continue to excel in your career without that maybe stress or pressure that you might feel if that was your boss. And then the third relationship that I recommend, that I think that people don't really connect with or take advantage of, and it is most difficult sometimes, is that high level advocate. And so the high level advocate is that person who is probably a higher, maybe if you're the associate manager, they're the VP. And so these are people who are your sponsors, right? And so we talk a lot about mentors, but a lot of people don't talk about sponsors enough. And so your sponsor is that person who is the voice in the rooms that you're not yet in. And they're the people who have their ears to the boardrooms. They're knowing what's coming up. They know what kind of projects or high visibility clients are coming up. And so these relationships can help you accelerate your growth in your career, because if you build those relationships where they trust you and they see what you bring to the table and what you're able to contribute on your teams, they'll remember you when those opportunities that are in alignment with your career growth come up, so that you're being one of the first people whose hat is in, whose name is in it. And so again, it can feel like, oh my gosh, how do I build these relationships? But one of the simplest things you can do is just be a hand, right? Like, just literally ask people, how can I help you? Or, I see that you are doing XYZ. I am actually happy to spend 15 minutes doing XYZ with you, or walking through it, or just let me know if you need help in this particular area. I'm really great at it. So really just being a resource to people is one great entryway to just establishing that relationship and that foundation of trust, which will help people feel like, oh, I want to get to know this person, or how can I help you in that same way that you've been helpful for me?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I love what you're saying because you're right. There's a lot of people that try and make these connections with, with a mentor or with, a superior at your company. And it feels really weird, right? You don't know where to start. But I love your guideline of kind of approaching this. Maybe instead of putting the cart before the horse, start it by making yourself one of those people that is open to connecting, is trying to help out others, because that's how developing that reputation is how you make sure that people feel comfortable coming to you, and so these opportunities are much more open. I absolutely love that. All right. So when we're talking about, there's a lot of people right now that want to know how to stand out, especially in the remote job market.
Yeah.
Now, are there specific skills that people should be really leveraging in this search or in this attempt to stand out from the crowd?
Yeah. So I say three things: clarity, communication, and connection. So, and I'll break it down for you, for the people who are like, I want to stand out. So with remote jobs, you have to recognize that it can be a little bit overwhelming, because when it comes to remote jobs, you have so much more opportunities and so much more jobs that are available for you, which is a great thing. However, you don't want to just throw yourself out there for every remote job that has the one word that you're looking for in the job that you want next. And so it's really important to first know what you want. Where do you want to go? Yes, remote jobs is great, but that's like just saying, I want a corporate job. And there are so many corporate jobs, so many corporate companies similar to remote jobs. So you have to understand, where do I want to be outside of the role being remote? Because essentially remote jobs are a benefit to how you do the work, but it's not the work that you're going to be doing. So you have to understand, what is the work that I want to be doing? Where do I want to be doing it? What does that look like? What type of level of seniority do I want? All of those questions are things that you want to be asking yourself. What kind of culture do I want to be a part of? What culture will allow me to really thrive? And it isn't just a good culture, because a lot of people say, I just want a good culture. What does that look like for you when it comes to the type of environment you want to be a part of? And so the reason why these questions are so important is because when you understand where you want to go, you increase your chances of getting it. And it also allows you to better position yourself to receive it, right? And when I say that, that means when I say better position yourself, it's like, if I know that I want to be a marketing director, or let's say I realize that I want to be I want to give it a little bit more specific. Let's say I realize that I want to be an internal communications director, right? So maybe before I was like, I want to be in communications. Like, I know I want a communications job and a remote communications job. But then when you get some clarity, you're like, you know what? I want an internal communications job because I'm really good at that. I'm really excited about being able to accelerate my career in that area. And so from there, you're like, okay, I have my experience. I'm really great at all types of communications. But now that I know I want an internal communications director job, how can I better use my resume and my stories to communicate that I'm really great at internal communications? And so that clarity informs the communication of how you're going to talk about the skills that you bring to the table, the examples, the accomplishments. Because one of the reasons why a lot of people don't stand out is because they approach their job search just sharing their career history. They're like, I have 8 years of experience doing communications. I'm really great. I worked at such and such company. I'm really excited about this job. And so you think that because your track record, your track record, and you have this XYZ amount of time in the career or industry, that people should automatically just hand you the jobs. But what you want to do instead is connect the dots and communicate the specific skills that align with the roles that you desire. And then from there, you also want to have that connection. I think a lot of times people forget that the hiring process is a bunch of human beings deciding where they want to work, and a bunch of human beings deciding who they want to work with. And so really thinking about it from that place of, how do I make sure that I'm finding a place where I'm going and I'm showing up as that person who would want to be there, and that I'm connecting with the human beings that I could potentially have as my bosses and my coworkers and my colleagues. And I think that's so important. We're working remotely, that you focus on the role fit and the culture fit, because so essential to remote jobs is making sure that they're bringing in the right people who, even though they may never meet them, they connect with them on a culture landscape so that they feel comfortable to connect with these people through a screen. And so when you're going through these interviews and you're applying for these jobs, you want to make sure that you align with their culture so that when you are showing up and getting the opportunity to talk about yourself, you're also kind of checking the box for them and like, hey, this person really aligns with our mission. This person really aligns with the type of ways that we collaborate. This person really aligns with how we want to show up in our industry. And that is going to make you stand out because so many other people forget that you also have to be a culture fit as well as a role fit.
Yes, I'm loving the topics you're bringing up here because you're right. That culture fit, we hear a lot of recruiters and companies talk about culture fit, and they talk a lot about being among like-minded people. And as someone who sits through a lot of these discussions, you know, you hear these phrases a lot, and you come to realize that their hearts are in the right place and what they're attempting to do is great, but the language can sometimes make people feel like, well, I have to fit into that box. Yes. Or I have to, like, being among like-minded people, I feel like it gives you the impression of maybe like an echo chamber. Yes. But when companies are talking about these things, what they're really talking about is not like-minded people in the sense that everybody's had the same experiences, but like-minded people in that we all believe in a culture of acceptance. We all believe in creating that safe space where our employees can come to work and where our teammates can come to work as they are. And so you're right. I think it's very important to make sure that you are looking at a company that has a mission that you get behind, or has a company culture that is going to be one that helps you thrive. Because you're right, it's you want to find a culture that is a fit for you, but that's not to say that you have to be like everyone else in the company to be that value add, and you don't have to just fill a seat. You are helping fill a culture gap. And I think that's wonderful. Thank you for bringing those
up. Good. Yes. Yeah. So good.
Yes. Okay, so I'm sure that a lot of us who are on this call, not me, but a lot of people who are on this call are maybe not currently satisfied with their jobs. What is your advice for those people?
Yeah, so my advice, if you're not satisfied with your job, is to, one, accept it. And I sound so like, okay, but it's so important because I know me and I know a lot of my clients, it takes a while to realize like, man, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Or man, I was once happy here, but I'm not. And that's so weird. I don't know what to do about that. And the first thing is really to acknowledge and accept that, so then you can now decide what you want to do from there, right? Because if you just keep in this kind of purgatory of like, I'm not happy here. I don't know why I'm not happy here. This is weird. I used to be happy here. I thought this was where I was supposed to be for a long time. I thought I saw myself here for such and such amount of time. You're just going to keep that cycle of like, I'm not happy, but I don't know why. Like, what do I do? Do I just wait for things to change? And you'll just get in your own head. And so I recommend accepting that you're not happy. And then from there, you have to get clear on what is missing. And so often when you think about what's missing, it probably falls under culture, mission, or work. And so you want to think about, is it the culture that isn't in alignment? Do I really like the way that people interact here? Do I like the way that they do business or connect with their clients? Like, do I like how the personality of the company is? And then the mission is, again, what we kind of talked about earlier, do I not align with maybe how, like, the clients they work with or the products that they serve? For example, I had a client who she recently took a job where she likes the work that she's doing, but she doesn't really love the industries that she's in. So she'd rather go back to the industry that she used to be in, because even though she loves the work, she found more fulfillment doing it for a different type of environment or different type of company. And so maybe that's your situation. So, okay, get clear on that. Or if it's the work and you're like, I'm bored, or, I want career growth, but that's not really possible here. And I don't know why I can't have that, but I think I want something more. Or if you're like, I just don't even like this work at all, and I keep looking at this team over here who's doing such exciting work, and I wish I'm on that team, but it's not possible here. You have to get clear on where do you fit in that dilemma. So that way you can decide from there what you want next, which again goes back to that clarity that leads to communication and connection. And so it's really important to, again, think about what's missing so that you can make an informed decision, so that you not only get a new job, but that you get a job that allows you to move forward in your career into that next level that you really desire.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, 100%. We're getting some really great questions in the chat thread. I'm so sorry, y'all. We're not going to be able to get to all of them. But in the last 3 minutes, I do want to touch on one of the last questions that we got. A lot of people are asking about, resources for professionals who are looking to land a job in the upcoming months. We also have people ask about, particular advice for introverts about trying to stand out and that kind of thing. What do you, where should we send people? Where can they follow you? What resources do you have that you want to share with this community?
Yes. So I actually have a workshop. It's a 90-minute workshop that walks you through basically all the ways that we just talked about right now, how to get clear on what you want, the questions you should be asking yourself, how to turn your experience into value. So again, moving from that career history to really turn it into value that the next company is looking for. And then also where to start if you don't really have any connections, if you're an introvert and you don't really want to just throw yourself out there, how to build the right authentic relationship so that you're, again, finding jobs that are in alignment with you in the hidden job market that you might not see on LinkedIn. And so that workshop is available for you. I know that you would love it. It's definitely going to just give you that encouragement and that clarity in the next steps. And I'll also share with you how you can work with me at the end of that workshop. So if you do want to get that expert coaching and that support so that you can really get the blind spots and close the gaps, then you'll get the insight on how to work with me and get started in my coaching program to help you get the results you're looking for.
Excellent. All right. And where can people go to find that info? Do you want them to follow you on LinkedIn? Is there a Twitter account they should follow?
Yes.
Where do we send people?
Yeah, so you can go to employeeredefined.com for that workshop, but you can also just go to Instagram. I'm at The New Employees, so The New Employees, and you'll see that link. So if you want to, you can go to Instagram, DM me that you were at the summit, and I can send you the link directly. But again, I would love for you to follow me there and get the tools that you're looking for to help you take this to the next level.
Excellent. Adunola, I just want to say a huge thank you. This has been a wonderful half hour. It's gone way too quickly. But thank you so much for spending time with our community, sharing your expertise. This has been truly wonderful. I've really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much, Megan.
You're welcome. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll get to speak again soon.
Yes.